So I realize I've never done a full breakdown of my race KRX and all the parts I've used, what I've learned, and so I don't really want to work on it right now. So I'm just going to create I'm going to guesstimate an hour-long video just about every single modification I've done, and just why, what I've liked, what I haven't liked, and just I'm going to ramble for probably an hour, so follow along. So honestly, I'm going to start front to back. Starting here at the front bumper. So this bumper was made by Podium 1 Engineering. They did the front bumper and the cage and the dash and some other features, but we're going to start with the front bumper. So this isn't like a standard KRX front bumper. So this front bumper bolts in the bottom like normal, but then up top here, since I don't run a front sway bar, but this would work with a front sway bar, it bolts into the front sway bar mount. So a lot of the other bumpers out there on the market use brackets and stuff in here, and they don't really take a hit, but this bumper will really take a hit. It's been pretty tore up, but he doesn't make this as a production bumper, but he could. If there was enough people that wanted them, he would build this bumper. The only bad part is you got to trim out your grill here to make it fit, but I honestly do not care for having a grill. It's just one less thing to fall out, because this whole front end has been modified. It doesn't really look like it, but I don't have a stock KRX here right now. They're both outright. All three are out riding, so kind of hard to tell, but I'll explain it. So we rolled the factory fenders down. They used to come all the way up to like right here and then back down, but because of my lower dash, we just folded them over. Sorry, I'm trying to get a good view. Is that a better view? Like, it doesn't go above this bar, so we rolled these down. For when you're racing, it makes really good line of sight. So we had to change. The headlight doesn't even like perfectly line up. Some bracketry, move them around. But Podium 1, Mikey over there did that. So, and then I got a DRT hood. I lost the hood and I needed a new one. And the factory one is ridiculously expensive. I mean, it's like $400 for a hood. And that one's like $195. But it feels cheap. I don't know how to explain it. It's not a bad hood, but it doesn't latch in the front, so you gotta use pop rivets. But it just doesn't feel nice. I don't know how to explain it. Horn kit, just a standard horn kit. I think it's off of eBay. What's wired into my rear light bar Pro 8. Switch panel. We got an oil cooler from Class 1 we're installing currently. It is not installed yet. Oh yeah, I got holes here for lights and then my wiring back here. All right, what else up front here? I guess we'll just kind of work our way in from the hub. Starting here at the castle nut. So the factory castle nut, I don't know why they do it, but it's not a castle nut, it's just a nut. Let me see if I got one over here. I'm sure I do in my bin of parts. I'm running factory nuts in the rear, which is really dumb. I should switch them out. But okay, so the factory nut goes like this, and then the cotter key goes out here. That gives that a lot of space to back off before it hits the cotter key. So there's a couple people that sell a kit for this upgrade, but I made this one myself. We're on factory hubs. These are Brute Performance rotors. Yes. And then Brute Performance big brake kit. So this uses Razor turbo triple piston calipers, but it's got to be like the base model turbo, not a Pro XP or anything like that. And then we're running, I want to say EBC brake pads. I think they have a race, but it might be a different brand brake pad. I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, and then it's little tiny stuff like this. So Brute Performance, you're gonna hear me say a lot of companies' names a lot here. Sells an upgraded bolt kit for the brake calipers. For some reason, the factory brake caliper nuts or bolts are really, really shallow headed, and they strip out so easy. It's annoying. But speaking on the brake setup, so it's Razor turbo calipers in the front, factory calipers in the rear. Polaris master cylinder. They have their own master cylinder, but this was actually a Polaris master cylinder. I took a used one off the shelf from Power Sports Nation. And then we run SRF Castrol. Oh, let's see if we can see it. Castrol SRF brake fluid racing. Pretty good fluid. For the fluid, you want to make sure that you get all your old brake fluid out and you put the new stuff in. So here's the thing about brake fluid that I had to learn. And I didn't quite understand how brake fluid worked at first. But brake fluid is a hydrophobic fluid. So when you overheat your brakes and your brake fluid, it absorbs the moisture out of the air, and then you get that into your brake fluid, which makes it work worse. And so you want to change your brake fluid, not like a lot. So like I change it probably every 3 or 4 races just to be safe, because I'm on 35s and I'm pushing this thing hard and I'm on the brakes a lot, and losing brakes sucks. I've done it a lot. And so this system works for me. This brake fluid works for me. I know there's a lot of other ones out there, like VP has a really high boiling point brake fluid. And so Castrol's worked for me. Just I change it every once in a while. But changing brake fluid on a side-by-side is like the worst thing. I hate it. There's like 15 different ways you can do it. Usually I'm by myself, and so I don't really have somebody to pump the brakes manually. And sometimes you have to. Like sometimes you got to get in there and you just got to kick that brake pedal. Just sometimes there's this bubble that just gets stuck in these brake lines. So yeah, that's my thoughts on brakes. I think the big brake kit's worth the money. I think it's a good modification for the price point, because a custom set of brakes for this thing, say you went, I don't know, whatever brand you want with a fancy master cylinder, it's going to all be, I mean, it would cost you like $2,000, if not more, plus brake lines, which is going to be a pain. So for the money, for the setup that you get, I think it's worth it. All right, so we're going to talk about the stock parts here. Stock hub, stock knuckle. Knock on wood, I have not had an issue with the stock front knuckles. These are back in the way first days of when the KRX came out, these knuckles would break down here. And this is the revised version. And it's funny, I remember when the KRX first came out of how much of an issue everyone was freaking out over it. But my first KRX was on the stock knuckles for like a year and a half, and I never broke one racing it. Wood's racing it too, which has is really stressful on your suspension components. But I never had an issue with the old style. This is obviously the new style. Oh yeah, OEM wheel bearings. I'm gonna probably be knocking on wood a lot too, because this is on the factory wheel bearing. I've never replaced this wheel bearing. I think this thing's got like 1,000 miles on it now. I think I've greased it once, but they're just beefy. They are expensive though. The OEM wheel bearing is like $80. They're a lot, but they don't break. A-arms. Starting at the A-arms here. Factory A-arms, but I sent them to Podium 1 again, and he braced them up, and they've taken a beating. I didn't want to go to like an aftermarket arm because I'm stock width, and Super ATV makes upper A-arms factory width, or both A-arms factory width, but I didn't want to run just a cheap brand. The OEM brand's really, not the OEM brand, the OEM A-arm is pretty strong, but just some extra bracing really made it stronger. Yep. This is a factory Kawasaki add-on. Came in on a KRX at PSN, and I stole them. They don't really line up super well with my stock stuff, like the way it mounts. I ripped that mount out, so then I put a different mount. Because these are thinner than like the Trail Armor brand, and I didn't want like crazy beefy ones. And I've ripped the Trail Armor front skid plates, the bolts out of it like 4 times. It's super annoying. Stock ball joints, really cool. Don't have to go to like a Keller or anything. These ball joints have been solid. Moving to the rack, Brute Performance rebuilt this rack for me, and then this is their tie rods. I ran stock tie rods for years, up until, what was it, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. I was at the Heartland Challenge, and I clipped a tree. I mean, clipped a tree and broke a factory tie rod, and I'll show a photo of it here. I thought I had a factory tie rod to show in comparison, but I don't. And all the other 3 KRXs are out trail riding, so bummer. But yeah, like I was saying, only broke one factory one, went to these upgraded ones. Maybe not super necessary on stock suspension if you're just trail riding it, but they are beefy. These things are stout. And then they got a special joint that Brute Performance makes. It's a stout unit, and it's greasable. Once they put a grease zerk on the rack, that's pretty cool. All right, now we move inside. Brute Performance gusset kit, if that's what you want to call it. It's technically 4 bars, one up top here, but they now have an updated one where there's more bracing. But I've had to pull this diff enough that I already got enough stuff to take off when you pull this diff out. I don't want to do more. It sounds kind of lazy of me, but it's just the truth of it. Does it work? Absolutely. I'm on my factory AR mounts, and this stuff's all been schwacked quite a few times. So I think it's worth it. It just makes putting these A-arms on not very fun. And like, you wouldn't have to, if you didn't have this brace in here, you could remove this front diff so fast. But because I have the bracing in there, I have to take it off. But I know it protects my stuff, so that's why I run it. Oops. All right, we're gonna shove the phone in here. This is all stuff inside the differential. Brute Performance 4-wheel drive gear. There's a couple companies that make them, but Brute Performance's was first, and I've ran it for years and have yet to break one. The input shaft back here is, this one is a Brute Performance one. I ran the Turner one. Brute Performance's, the way it meshes is a little bit different than the Turner. I've ran both work great. Front diff fluid I run mostly because O'Reilly stocks this and we have an account there. I just run this. Good diff oil, transmission oil, good stuff. I probably drain, let's say, every 4 race hours, front diff and transmission. Oh, and now I gotta get way under it. You probably can't even see it. Yeah, you can, right there. Magnetic front diff plug from Brute Performance. It's cheap. I don't know how expensive it is for the engine, transmission, and rear differential magnetic drain plug, but I don't know, it's cheap insurance. Up here, these are custom fenders with the cage. I want to say these are Area 15 light mounts. I really want to say that, but I can't because I don't remember when I ordered these or who they came from. But they work. They've been bent a bunch of times. I mean, they're pretty dang solid. They're just kind of a pain to install with the roll cage. Don't get me started on installing KRX roll cages. I don't know why Kawasaki had to invert this. So when you got a cage with a bar across here, it is Such a pain. Oh yeah, and this is welded to the chassis. Shock tower. So there's a lot of companies out there, that make braces for here. Do I think it's absolutely necessary? No. Do I think it's cheap insurance? Yes. Brute Performance makes a full connecting plate that goes through here. I actually ripped this one off. It's pretty impressive. We trackside repaired it. And it's been like that for like a year. I should probably grind it all out, but like this backside, I have no idea how you'd repair that. So it's worked so far. I just try to make sure I got good bolts. Oh, also you're probably seeing all this little blue stuff on the heads of bolts. So when I have extra time on my hands and I'm race prepping, I use, I don't even know where it's at right now. It's called crack paint. So essentially it's like a gel hard coat paint. When it tightens up or hardens, if the nut were to break loose, it would crack the paint. It's just a really good visual indicator. I got this thing at like the right amount of torn apart. I don't even have my door bar in here because I was dynoing it, and I didn't want this to be open. So when I took video, I had all my Bob Saget logos on there. Oh, that's all the bolts. You know, it's big social media stuff. Make sure the sponsors get their time. Oh yeah, let's put these over here. So yeah, this thing doesn't have doors, which I don't know. Doors are cool, like really cool getting in and out. But you'd have to really design the cage for structural purposes without doors. Just adds another contact point, which in the geometrical scale of blah, 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 it makes it stronger not having doors. Okay, let's review. We are now into the interior. Starting, we got a, oh my God, a fire extinguisher, a fire putter outer, a wee-woo, as Ron would call it, because it's fire related. Got three of, well, I have them somewhere, but 3 for Ultra4 rules. Spare belt. It's been in there since I built the car. Haven't had to use it. I don't know if I would use it because it's been washed like 40 times and sat here in full mud. Passenger grab handle is somewhere else. Still the factory one. There's the flat dash again. This in-out switch doesn't work because my winch is actually wired to that panel. I just didn't have an extra hole. And one fell out anyways, I need to replace it. Pumper. Controls. Fan override for my rear-mounted radiator. OEM headlights, and then the switch for four-wheel drive. The switch panel, this is Rear Light Bar Company, and it's actually mounted up underneath there. Nice stuff, cheap for the price. Some dyno jet mount I bought off of Etsy, I think. Then a ram ball mount. Sometimes we have to run a bleep bloop computer thing. Yeah, I don't even know what it's called. Why can't I think of that? Moving on. So essentially the dash, it's all gone. Just bolts in with self-tappers. Then this cover panel here back is stock, and then I don't run that back panel. The panel's just missing right here. And truly, when Kawasaki was designing this side panel, God bless the engineer that did, but it could have been done so differently, so it's so much easier to access. It's like goes up underneath here and connects. It's so annoying. Because like I'd like to, next car, have all these panels be super removable, because as you can see, I can't get in there and wash in there. And it gets a lot of mud. It's just, next car, it's going to all be a custom tunnel so I can easily wash it. All right, starting at the drive shaft. Brute Performance drive shaft. Greasable, nice stuff. This is their latest model, and I cannot remember if we did something special with the U-joints or not, because I am supercharged with high boost, and I think honestly mostly what it was me having to learn how to drive with my right foot. This thing's got almost double the horsepower of a stock KRX, and I'm on 35s, and I beat on this thing, and so I broke, I think, 2 U-joints, but I think honestly it was mostly my right foot. Knock on wood again. This drive shaft has been super solid, and it's not the fault of brute performance. It's, like I said, my right foot. The thing's beefy though. All the stock parts are gone right now. I'd just be comparing everything. Factory e-brake. T-Rex off-road. There's the logo. Shifter. He makes custom shifters for you. This is a PSN one with green in it. Not PSN's company colors, I know, but I'm special like that, so I got a green one. It says it right here. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Let me figure out the name of this. All right, figure it out. Driveline tools, shift gate. So he also makes this oil filter remover tool, which I run the firepower ones, which has the socket or the nut at the end. But if you have the stock filter, this tool is really nice. Okay. Shift gate, is it worth the money? So, like an Ultra4, we got some pretty gnarly climbs sometimes. And just being able to put it on this side and know I can just rock it back to reverse. Sorry, I'm not in the right position. Is peace of mind. Pretty cool. Rear view mirror. Nothing special. I even think that's like an Amazon brand one. Not really worth the money to get nice rear view mirror. It's just a rear view mirror. Steering quickener. This is Class 1 Motorsports, their mount. And then this is just like a Speedway quickener 2-to-1. You have to make a custom shaft to your power steering unit. But this, we took everything apart out of this thing. Sorry, I don't know why I'm zoomed in so far. Pulled the shafts out, replaced the bearings, and replaced the seals. So it turns a lot smoother. Hess Motorsports, which I have their rear mount radiator, did not have their steering quickener out when I started racing, so I built this one. Steering quickeners are the shit, man. If you've never drove with one, dang it. Again, Todd's car is gone. He's got a really nice, the Hess one, the 1.5-to-1. I should really be comparing. But yeah, built that. Steering quickeners are the shit. I don't know how to describe it. It's just the best thing. Once you have one, it's really hard to go back out without one. Kirky seat, custom mount by Podium 1 Engineering. Again, very nice. If you've never had like a racing seat like this that like really fits you, it sucks sometimes when you're on, like Davis. I think I fractured my tailbone, I don't know, 6 months ago maybe, doing something. But I had to literally sit on a pillow because my ass hurt so much. Yeah, that was a long 3-hour race, and I even took Tylenol beforehand. Yeah. Oh, sorry about this. Gosh, there's just so much stuff. And I feel like I'm rambling, but you wouldn't be watching the video if you didn't want to hear me ramble on about KRXs. Oh, kickers. Podium 1 Engineering again. Technically, this is boat-sided because there's no plastic here, which the factory KRX is already kind of boat-sided, but this is now more boat-sided than factory. There's not the plastic pieces that come down. Yeah, we had to trim the fenders in the rear too. Yeah, let's see. Oh, fuel system. So this is the factory fuel pump, and then it's got a Yaw Power Off-Road FDM kit. So your factory fuel pump goes into this line. This line goes down and underneath and around to essentially what this is a secondary tank but it's not really secondary because it's in line, but has a higher pressure fuel pump in here that then feeds a line from here around to this fuel rail. There's so much stuff back here. Which then has a regulator on it, which is vacuum referenced in there. No, in there. Sorry, there's just so much shit back here. People ask, and I say I got literally 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag back here. Essentially, it's a OEM, it's a returnless fuel system. This makes it returned, and it's technically boost referenced or vacuum referenced, which is better than returnless fuel line or fuel pump. And then injector dynamics ID 1050 injectors. If you have a boosted KRX, I recommend an FDM unit. Brute Performance also makes a fuel system for it. Both are good. They're doing the same thing differently. I have wherever it is, a Brute Performance one in there, which I'm going to be installing on the White Buffalo. It's not here. Why is nothing here? When it gets back, because we're building off of a Razor turbo kit, essentially. It's pretty close. We're just going to cut this off, weld on another flange. But yeah, we'll use the Brute Performance fuel system for that. I can only speak on this one because I haven't installed the Brute Performance one yet. This one's really nice. The instructions are really nice. Good stuff. Oh yeah, and it has their fuel rail. I probably didn't mention that, but which was pretty obvious because that doesn't look like a factory fuel rail. Okay, fuel system covered. Yeah, so I'm just trying to think of what I'm all going to explain. There's so much. I do not have the factory air and clutch intake covers that are here. I just run the rubber boots that they come with. Probably should have some sort of frog skins over them, but these are high flow, high performance. Okay, Brute Performance, engine and transmission mounts. All right, now this is going to be a long ramble. Okay, this is a long story. And this was how naive I was with my first KRX. All right, so on my first KRX, I had an HMF exhaust. Like, I had one of the first HMF exhausts out there for a KRX. Not bragging or tooting my own horn. I just did. So I'm going to show a video. No, I don't even know. I might have a video or a photo. So I cracked like 4 of those mufflers. I kid you not. And I couldn't figure it out why. So I would email HMF, call HMF, whoever I was dealing with at HMF. And I was like, guys, I've broken like 4 of these mufflers. Like, what is going on? And this all relates to the engine and transmission mounts. I'm getting there. But I just kept cracking them. And my car only had like 500 miles on it. I'm like, how in the world am I cracking so many mufflers that like, it just doesn't make sense. It can't, like, there's got to be something else making it happen. So I'm grabbing my pry bar. So I didn't realize it at the time, but later, as I broke more stuff, I found out what the true issue was. Let me see. No, I have a factory engine mount somewhere. I just got to find it. This is the bad part about my brain, is it does stuff. I put it in a specific place because I had specific things for it, and now I can't find it. It's super annoying. I have so many parts in this thing. Like, I really wish I could just snap my finger and know where everything is all the time, but it's a lot of parts. I finally have a stock part I can compare this to. Okay, let's talk about engine mounts. So I have a set of Class 1 Motorsports and a set of Brute Performance. These ones are going in another machine. I've had them, so I can speak on both. Class 1 Motorsports, harder rubber, slightly more vibration, not in a bad way, just a skin in the same cat, just differently. That's all I'm going to say about that. They're both doing the same thing, just differently. Okay, so this is the OEM one. As you can see, there are, let's say, support fingers. That is not the proper term, but that's what I'm going to call them. So all your engine and transmission weight on the rear, this is the rear mount. The front mount's just a, I'll show you. This is all the front mount is. It's just a piece of rubber, but it's just like this, where there is gaps in here. It's not completely solid like this. Bad. Really allows the engine and transmission to sag. So if you haven't replaced your engine and transmission mounts, and I'm going to link this all back to the muffler. Don't get me wrong, okay? Just give me a second. If you got factory bushings, take a pry bar, go underneath your engine and transmission and pry on it. So this is moving very minimally, but if you have factory mounts, I guarantee you will see 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch of a movement, which may not seem like a lot, but I don't know if I can. Ooh, let's try 2 zoom. That's your oil pan. 5 zoom. It is not far from your frame. And so what I'm saying is, link this back to the muffler, Cameron. You can do it. I had killed a factory set of bushings in less than 500 miles. And the exhaust muffler on the original HMF style was dual mounted. So the muffler was fixed. And this engine and transmission would move so much up and down that it would crack the muffler. So the whole time I was blaming HMF, and I never talked bad about them because I was like, so I never talked bad about HMF because I ran HMFs on everything. Like LTZ 400, you were the coolest kid in the block with the KFX 400 with the lime green HMF pipe. I mean, the performance with the black tip, dude, it was amazing back in the day. HMFs are cool. I mean, we have them on a Talon. I'm sorry, I'm rambling right now. But we had dual HMFs on a Talon. It just sounded gnarly. Loved the sound of that. Essentially circling back around, HMF broke because my engine and transmission mounts were bad, not because it was a bad product. But yeah, that took a while to catch on in the KRX community, and so it took a while to get those bushings made. I didn't have them made. I just tested them, and they work. All right, before we dive deep into the engine and everything I've done, we're going to talk about the rear suspension while we're here. Factory rear calipers. Gosh, I'm really wanting to say EBC. Does it say a name on there? I can't read it anyways. Brute Performance rotors. ZRP billet rear knuckles. Now, are these necessary? That's a good question. I have heard of a couple of racers having failures with the rear knuckles. Have I personally have a failure? No. Does it happen though? Yes. We were ordering billet knuckles for an X3 of ours. So they gave us a better deal if I ordered the KRX ones too. So I did. All right, I got this to show you. So, factory KRX rear bushings back here suck. They're too soft. Oh, I didn't even speak about the front bushings. My bad. This set is Garage Products bushings. good bushings. Haven't had an issue. But there's a couple other companies out there that make them. This is the rear bushing for the knuckle, how it mounts to the trailing arm. So this factory bushing is too soft. It'll wear out and cause weird angles back here. So I went to the Garage Products, and then this is using the factory bolt. Brute Performance makes an upgraded bolt. I don't know why I don't have it on this. I'm sure I have it on the shelf. I probably just haven't replaced it. There's a lot of stress on this point right here because it articulates and stuff. It's nice when you're changing rear axles or anything like that. Very nice. But yeah, upgrade the bushing. It's well worth it. Radius rods. Oh, factory axles too. Radius rods. All right. Factory radius rods are great. Do I think it's necessary to upgrade them? No. Do I have upgraded ones? Yes, because they're adjustable. I wanted to adjust the rear geometry. Nice thing about factory rear radius rods, they don't adjust, so they can't get out of whack. These suckers, you gotta do it right. You know, you gotta grease the points, but at the same time, make sure that you're tight enough, and then you need to make sure you put crack paint on them because they can come loose. I've had it happen before. You really got to make sure you know where your heim joints and that stuff is coming from, because it is a key suspension component, and you really need to make sure that it's a good quality, because it sucks when a $15 heim joint fails and ruins your race. It just really sucks. That kind of concludes rear suspension. My shocks aren't here, but I got another set of shocks over here. These are my Woods Racing shocks, so they're set up stiffer and valved differently from my Ultra4 shocks, rebuilt by E Racing with their valving and springing, and they're actually shortened 2 inches. Doesn't have as much travel as a standard KRX, but I don't need that much. Oh yeah, I'm not running my front sway bar. I'm running a rear sway bar, a factory sway bar, and I really should upgrade that rear sway bar, because when this thing corners, she likes to roll, and I think if I had beefier components back here, I could do that. But I've also seen, like, Jeremy McGrath's runs through his engine mount, and there's got to be, they don't make that as a kit, and I don't really have the time to figure it out right now, but I feel like having a stronger rear sway bar would be helpful. And it looks like a pain to install. I've never actually removed a factory rear sway bar. Maybe it's not that bad. I don't know. But there's a Phillips head in there, right there. I don't want to deal with that. So yeah. Skid plate. This skid plate's seen a thing or two. It's actually missing the front skid plate. I've ripped it off. Trail Armor skid plate. Or is this Super 18? No, this is Trail Armor. Trail Armor skid plate. It's tough. It's really tough. This plate is from Class 1 Motorsports. Do you have to have this plate? No. But if you're already here, it's cheap insurance. If that makes sense. Okay, before I get into the engine, we're going to finish talking about Driveline. There's the Brute Performance drive shaft. Very nice. I'm going to see if I can shut my phone here. Brute Performance carrier bearing. Brute Performance output shaft. So I'm going to go on a rant here. Output shaft. Good, better, best. Stock. It's really pretty good. They do eat up bearings though. These seals, I am sure that this is an engineering thing, but why a seal, like a lipped seal? Why? All it does is catch stuff and hold it. And this factory seal cover, Pepita, why are you meowing at me? Just hold stuff. kills bearings. Better. Brute Performance carrier bearing on a stock shaft. Much better. This is a double bearing unit on a stock shaft. Then you get to the best. Brute Performance carrier bearing and shaft. I mean, just like you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about. Big difference. I have broke these. Here's the thing though. So you start getting into Driveline, something's got to become a fuse. So I have everything upgraded. So something had to become the fuse. Now I got to find another part. This is exhausting. I should have been more prepared. I just feel like I'm walking around a lot. Here it is. I found it. Okay. Dang it. Now I got to tell my story. Fuses. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm autistic. Everything's built. So when everything's built, something then becomes the weakest link. The only thing that is factory in this sucker on the Driveline is that little slip collar right there between the transmission and the output shaft. That's what they're called. Technically, that's the output shaft of the transmission, but that's another output shaft. It's confusing. So, after I had everything built and I was beating on this thing with more than factory horsepower, this right here, that coupler became the weak link. So this is kind of a funny story, an annoying story, and like it brings trauma back to me. So I was racing in Indiana, and there was this rock wall. I broke twice on it, rolled the car off the hill, and lost four-wheel drive. And I was really bummed out. It'd been a long day, a lot of work to get there, and it wasn't going right. So I lost four-wheel drive. So I started tearing into this sucker. I had the drive shaft out, the front diff out. I tore the front diff all the way apart. I drained the fluid in the transmission, thinking I broke something in the transmission. So I tore everything apart, put it all back together, all the way. Went and drove it again, and it still didn't have four-wheel drive. And I was so bummed. I was like, dude, I stayed up till 1 o'clock in the morning trying to get this four-wheel drive fixed, and I couldn't figure it out. Well, I hadn't removed the output shaft, if that's what you want to call it, the intermediate shaft, whatever shaft you want to call it. I didn't remove it because it was still spinning. Like, we had it up on the stands and it was still spinning there. So I thought it wasn't broken. So this right here, I don't know if you can see this, perfectly broken half. And when I visually inspected it the first time, all I could see was this half. So I thought this was still good. And it still had enough connection in there to keep it spinning. So I found this out, so then I had to tear everything back out. The front diff, the drive shaft, or at least slide the drive shaft far enough to take it out. Everything again, right before this race. I think I had 20 minutes to spare before we had to get on the line. It was the most exhausting thing in the world. So, talking about weak links. This became the weak link. Now, do I think it's a true weak link? No, I think it's my foot. Okay, let's see. And I'm probably missing stuff. Like, oh, factory trailing arms. I think Area 15 is the only one that makes OEM factory replacements, unless you have like a long travel kit. But the factory ones are pretty dang good. All right, we're gonna set the lift down. That's my handy lift. Pretty dang handy. Especially when you got the wheels off, you can just set this thing on the ground. All right, now we're gonna get into the engine performance side of this thing. It's gonna be a long time of me talking and rambling. Be prepared. So I guess we'll start not with that. Chase light, rear light bar company, or whatever they're called. It's got dust in it. I'm not saying the company's a bad brand, but why does my chase light have dust in it? Works good though. I've never had it fail, but it's definitely got some stuff in it. Hess Motorsports rear radiator. Works good. Once I put that intercooler in there, I wish I should have moved this up taller. I don't need to see out the rear window anyways, really. Maybe I'll just get like a rear view camera next time. I don't know. Also, you don't want to be looking behind you because then you're going slower. All right. God, there's so much to talk about back here. Ugh. We're just going to start with it. Craftworks Supercharger. This is the intercooler setup. They also have a triple fan thing to suck more air through this. And your oil cooler's up there too. I haven't installed it yet because I'm kind of out of wattage in my cottage. This is actually a 21, so it's got the small alternator in it. The 25 pluses now have a giant alternator stator set up in them. And obviously with my supercharger kit, I can't run an alternator. So, and with the rear mounted radiator and their high output fans and all my other shenanigans on this thing, I'm kind of out of wattage for my cottage. I want to upgrade to that stator package, but it's like $3,500 in OEM parts. You gotta pull this all apart again. And so for now, I got that. Oh, and plus the oil cooler up here has got 2 fans on it as well. And once I add that to the system, I may honestly just unhook my lights and stuff like that because I don't use them a ton, and I can just rehook them up when I need them and just be conscious of my wattage that I am using up. So, intercooler kit, Craftworks Supercharger. This system I've dealt with a lot. Rotrex Supercharger. It's from a Danish company. Yeah. It feels overly complex. But it works. But why so much complexion? It's literally, essentially this supercharger is hydrostatically driven based off of the fluid that comes through here, and it goes on a roller bearing, and it works, but it's frustrating because it's got this fluid tank up here, and it's got to have a certain amount of fluid, and it's traction fluid, so you should be replacing it. 75 millimeter supercharger pulley, 105 crank pulley. This setup, which most people don't know this, but you have 2 idler holes right there. You can actually move them up. Right now, this is the only belt I could find that would work, but that was a 6 rib, heavy duty fleet runner belt. That's the belt you want. Belts are annoying. I've had to order like 18 belts because I was stupid. Now I'm not so stupid about it. I can figure out belts really quickly, but it was my first time with it, and it was super annoying. This took a while to figure out because you're changing the way this wraps around the belt. You went smaller here, so there's less surface area for the belt to grab on, but you need to make sure you have tension. This is bigger, so it has more traction, so then sometimes it can slip in between here, and then it starts to smoke the belt, which you can see there. I got a ton of tension on this thing, which then can potentially kill your crank seals if you have too much tension on it. But, yeah. I've dealt with this system a lot, and it's a lot of work. When I went high boost, there wasn't a lot of people that had done it yet, and so had to figure out a lot of stuff, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I've learned a lot. I'm actually kind of thankful of what I've learned. But when I started going high boost, which the whole reason I wanted to go high boost, I was fine with the base boost kit. I truly was. But I wanted to put the re-gear in the transmission. I needed more horsepower to pull it. So I started messing with everything. And when you start messing with stuff, it's a lot of work. I got 2 kids. I work in a business. It's a lot of work. So, but I'm thankful for it. I now know a lot of stuff. I now know why you need 2 O2 bungs in your headers, so that because each cylinder you can change differently because they both act differently because they're They share the same cylinder, but each piston is firing differently. And I learned about fuel pressure and why it's important and why you need it. I learned about T-bolts. I mean, I learned about blow-off valves. This has got an RPM blow-off valve in it. Sounds pretty dang cool. I got it vented to atmosphere right now. If I was to do it again, because I bent this L piece here, I would have just recirculated it. Just because I don't need more noise. But this, from the plastic one that comes with it in the Kraftwerks kit, over there, wherever it is in that box somewhere, I'm not digging it out. Big upgrade. And they're cheap. They're under $100. And they're good stuff. Like, you buy that, you take it out, you look at it, and you go, dang, son, it's nice. And I put paint marker on there. But you can't install that wrong. Like, I learned about blow-off valves, why they work, how they work. I thought I had a boost leak. I went through this whole system. Turns out I didn't have a boost leak. I just didn't have enough pulley to make the boost I wanted. Which right now I'm making like 13, 14 PSI. And it runs hard. Just need to see if it'll stay together. You know, for 3 hours on endurance racing, that's a lot. That's beating on a machine for 3 full hours. So my stuff's got to be right. It's got cams in it, Kraftwerks Stage 1 cams. It's got their pistons. I think they're 11-to-1 compression pistons. Stock head, other than the camshafts. Stock crankshaft, Kraftwerks rods. It's got head studs. So it's not like incredibly built in the motor. It's just kind of ordered out of Kraftwerks catalogs. Good parts. Had no issues with them. Have held up well. I do change my oil a lot. I change it about every race. Oil's cheap. I do run Firepower oil, 10W40 full synthetic. That's not what's in there right now. That's why it says not FP on it. I got different oil in there for a different project. But that's the oil I run. Oh, now that I'm zooming in over here. I ran the all balls air filters and the stock air filters. Both work great. So that's the engine build. I did have to shave. There's a little, I threw it away. A little tiny nipple. Ooh, hello. Right here that I shaved off so that I could get a T-bolt right there. Clamp. Make sure you lock tight. Pull these out and lock tight these bolts. Good thing to do. I've had one fall out. Let's see. Transmission. So I'm actually getting ready to pull the transmission so I can put the re-gear in. This transmission sucks to pull. I don't want to do it. Like, I honest to God don't want to do it. But I need to because I need the top speed. This thing, I guess I didn't talk about clutching. So this thing is a hodgepodge of clutch components. I don't know. I've ran a lot of them. JBS secondary spring. So the secondary spring essentially determines what the bite is on the belt. Upgraded spring, better bite. Very nice. This is, I don't even know what brand belt this is. It's either a G-Boost or an OEM. Good belt. Haven't had issues with belts, but I also change them often. But the Kraftwerks is not, oh, it is a G-Boost. You can see it. The belts are not known for blowing on these things like an X3 or like a Razor Turbo. Clutches. So these were cut by Class 1 Motorsports. The primary was. It's got a JBS weight kit in it and no primary spring. I've tried a lot of clutching stuff and I still don't understand clutching. It's kind of for wizards. And it's a math equation, and I need to get more serious with it and start writing it down instead of just guessing. Need to use a scale. Probably need to check spring tension. Sedona trail saw tires, 35-inch, and then that thing's leaning. Oh, it's over here. I run Monster Seal tire seal in them, and you add like 32 ounces of tire sealant to these tires. These are 37s for another build. Plus the rim and the tire. That's a lot of rotating mass. I just remembered. yaw power off-road ignition coils, sparkulators, or whatever Paul decided to call them. If you got a boosted KRX, these are like less than $400. It's so cheap for some quality ignition coils. So, Kraftwerks doesn't tell you, but technically you're supposed to gap your plugs for the supercharger. You're supposed to gap them like 0.28, so like right there, and they're like 0.35. So you got to manually gap your plugs. And so when you go, because the factory coil aren't designed for boost, they're not great, blah, 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 blah. So you plug in the factory coils up here into the yaw power. There's a ground. Zoom in some more. There's a ground. Wow, that zoomed in really nice. They bolt on. Don't have to gap your plugs anymore. I probably should go to a colder plug, which Paul Yaw explained that to me, and I'm not going to try to articulate it because I'm still learning. I learned a lot with this thing. Oh, coil packs. Those were given to me for free. I test ran them. I think they're worth every single dollar. You do have to change the dwell values on your ignition coils or you'll burn up your factory ECU. So that leads me into tuning. I am tuning remotely with PPEI, world famous in diesel tuning. Go Corey Willis, fighting the government. I appreciate you, brother. You're fighting the fight. Not all of us can fight. Screw the EPA. The corrupt system. But yeah, Eric Fontent. Eric, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Eric is a gangster. There's a lot of tuners out there, but there's even less true tuners. And Eric is a true tuner. Look at my big Kawasaki sign. Funny story, I bought that in South Dakota and actually flew off my trailer at like 50 mile an hour, and I had to go get it. And it didn't break, but it's like a 16-foot sign. It's huge. We're talking about Eric at PPEI. I won't say that there's no good tunes out there for the KRX. I think there's some okay tunes. I actually had, when the KRX first came out, I'll admit I had a V-Force John tune, which if you know anything about Kawasaki's and V-Force John, you know what I'm talking about. But Eric has this thing figured out. They're in Louisiana, and we did this all over email with me doing it, and it runs crispy. I'm going to post a video we're going to show a video of it on the dyno, and you can just hear it just be crisp. And that's on pump gas, not even race fuel. That sucker's screaming. She runs good. And that's all from PPEI. I have learned with tuning, though, you got to have your shit straight. Replace your spark plugs. Make sure you got good fuel. Make sure your sensors are all working properly. Don't waste people's time with tuning. Make sure you got a new air filter in there. That seems pretty obvious. I didn't do it, but I'm sure they've seen it. But like, you just got to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. And so that's probably one of the biggest things too. Like, as I've turned up the boost on this thing and really started to modify more and more, is I got to make sure I got the right stuff. Do I think I have it 100% figured out? No, I don't. I truly don't. I think there's quite a bit that I can improve still, which I'm going to. I also want to try some different things. Like I showed earlier, that Razor Turbo. It's so close, you almost have to. Am I unhappy with the Kraftwerk system? No, their bass boost kit is awesome. We have it on another KRX, and it's had no issues. It's a great kit on bass boost. When you start turning it up, it's not as refined. Gotta get a Fresca. I've been talking so much, my mouth is dry. Fresca. This is the peach flavored. Probably wonder why I post so much about Fresca. It's because maybe they'll sponsor me someday. Fresca's the shit. And it's sparkling soda water, so it's essentially healthy. It's water. So I don't know how many people will watch this all the way to the end, but if you do, leave a comment. Because if you did, you listen to a lot of stuff. And take everything I said with a grain of salt. But I couldn't do this racing without all my great sponsors. Brute Performance, Podium 1 Engineering, Kraftwerks, W Racing, Handy Lift, Injector Dynamics, kind of Yaw Power More. Power Sports Nation, family business. Kawasaki, they've helped me out and kept me racing. Spider Graphics did the wrap. Sedona, All Balls Racing, Firepower, T-Rex Off-Road, RPM. It was previously Mikey's Speed Shop. Now it's Podium 1 Engineering. My other son, Gio, and my wife. I got to thank my wife and my family for supporting me. Racing's tough. Makes you question, why do you even do this stuff? You put 40 hours of work into a race car and it could break first corner. That's tough. But we keep doing it because we love it. Excited for racing. Gonna keep putting this KRX on the podium. It's got what it takes. And I have a confidence in the car, and I'm gaining confidence and learning so much. Just excited for the future. Like I said, please drop a comment, a like. I appreciate you watching. Really trying to figure out what I should do with YouTube. I can do more. But I appreciate you guys following along. Let's see this thing on the podium again.